What do you think of the Catholic proclamation that Jews can be saved without Jesus?
If they're united, well, okay. First of all, I have no idea what document you're referring to, and I probably haven't read it. But if it's just conveying the idea that anyone, namely in this situation, Jews can be saved, by being like mystically united to the church, that's just an orthodox
No,
position. But that would
no,
be through Jesus.
I mean,
no. I think that a development from Catholic to from Vatican II
Can you define
has been
development,
that
please? Can you define what development means, please? Or define, sorry.
at first you had Vatican II and then new understandings that developed from Vatican II. Like what?
Okay, you can't use develop to describe development. What does development or develop mean?
Well, dude, why are you being so
Because you need a
like
clarification of
schematic with
terms.
me?
I'm not asking you to be a jerk. You just need a clarification of terms.
But you are being a jerk.
It's okay.
It's
It's
like I
necessary
speak in
to have.
layman terms. I speak in layman terms. I didn't even finish what I was going to say.
if you launch
Now you
another ad
want me to
hominem, I'm
philosophically
Dreamily,
define a
Dreamily,
perfectly conventional colloquial term.
Dreamily. I do want you to engage in the conversation just for entertainment purposes. But if you engage in more informal fallacy like ad hominem, I'm gonna mute you.
It's like I was in the middle of even trying to describe what I'm about. Oh yeah,
Okay,
define development. Come
that's
on,
fine.
just speak
But
like a human being.
just to be clear, Dreamily, no one in this room is obligated to understand your feelings. Okay, just make your
All right.
just right. Just assert your position.
So I've read somewhere, and I can look it up, that the position of the church, of the Catholic Church, is that actually the covenant that God has with Israel, meaning before Jesus, has never been revoked, actually. Which means the consequence of it is that it seems like there is a two system theology. I think there's a term to it, a two whatever, meaning that the Jews have their own way to go to heaven without Jesus, which is keeping the commandments or whatever we see in the Old Testament. And it seems like the Catholic Church has adopted this position. So I was wondering, what do you guys think of it?
Okay, so firstly, a few thoughts on that. Okay. So firstly, I think it would be fruitful and advantageous for you to provide the document. Secondly, if the document is from a non-infallible or non-authoritative source, such as the Theological Commission, it's irrelevant because it does not have to be assented to in order to remain in good standing as a Catholic.
I see an article about it in the Times of Israel from December 10th, 2015. I'm trying to look for the what proclamation the article is referencing. So hold on, I'm reading it.
Okay. Oh, by the way, I don't think it would be relevant in this context, but if the document is just saying that those who are ignorant of the faith um, can go to heaven or can attain this eternal life by following the Ten Commandments, which can be known innately to everyone by nature and natural reason. Um, there's nothing wrong with that position. That's always been the standard Orthodox position. But not sure if it's relevant in this case. Or not sure if that's what the document says.
It's called like a reflection document. That's how it's being described here. It quotes it in part, so I'm gonna Google the actual quote, see if it can give me a direct link to that reflection.
No. Remember, it can always be misquoting the document because that's what all news sources do, basically. So,
Okay, here's the quote. I'm going to read it and then I'm going to look for it to see if I can find like the actual full document.
okay.
Right, but it says, although Jews cannot believe in Jesus Christ as the universal Redeemer, they have a part in salvation because the gifts and the calling of God are irrevocable. Irrevocable. Like, how do you pronounce that? Like,
Irrevocable.
cannot be revoked.
Irrevocable.
Irrevocable.
Irrevocable. Yeah, cannot be revoked. All right. Copy. Google.
Oh, that's the full quote. Very Mullen. Very Mullen. Okay.
I found on CatholicCulture.org. New Vatican document. Catholics should not seek to convert Jews.
Yeah, it's definitely misquoting that document in some way, if that's the headline.
What does it say here? The gifts and the calling of God are irrevocable, released on December 10th by the Vatican's Commission for Religious Relations with the Jews, underlines and clarifies the message of the benchmark Vatican II document, Nostrae Aetate. A new Vatican statement was released to mark the 50th anniversary.
Do you what is your particular view on that on Nostrae Aetate? Do you agree with Nostrae Aetate?
Are you asking me?
Hmm.
Well, I'm not Catholic, I'm Jewish, so I see it as the power of the Vatican has been destroyed. The Vatican now bends to its proper Jewish overlords, as should be. That's how I see it.
Interesting.
Okay.
I don't see that that's what it's saying in Nostrae Aetate or Lumen Gentium.
I mean, like always, we Jews get special treatment. We're not like everybody else. We're different. Everybody else may need Jesus, but we don't.
So I
Yeah,
don't.
you do need Jesus. That's
Neither do I, Jimmy Lee. Neither do I.
So what the
Yeah.
Catholic Church is maintaining is that if a Jew is saved, then it's going to be in virtue of Christ and not because of the old covenant.
But that's not what it's saying. It's saying the other way around. It's
No,
saying if a Jew is saved without believing in Jesus, he can be saved through the old covenant because it has never been revoked.
that's correct. It's never been abrogated.
Oh yeah, let's not be Muslims here. We don't do abrogations here.
I mean, it's been fulfilled.
That's correct.
Yeah, it's been fulfilled. Never abrogated.
So here's the thing. From the Roman Catholic point of view, right? When it comes to Jewish people who are not Catholic, our approach is we want you to be the best Jew that you can.
So say I uphold the laws of the old covenant. And
That's
don't
one
get me,
way.
oh, you don't have a temple, you can't do sacrifices. Well,
Well,
the prophets themselves
that's
in the
kind of the irony, isn't it? Right? Because
I was in
what we
the
would say
middle,
is
right? I was in the middle.
right. So what does it mean to be a good Jew?
I was in the middle, right? I was about to explain it.
Mhm.
So don't say, well, you can't be a full Jew because you don't have a temple, you don't have
That's not
sacrifices.
what we're saying.
Because I'm in the middle of something, right?
Okay.
So the prophets themselves in the Old Testament, Hosea and Solomon, when he dedicated the first temple, They already perceived a situation wherein it could be that the Jews would be without a temple. In this case, without a temple, prayers stand for sacrifices. They fill the gap of sacrifices. So we can still be full Jews even without a temple. So say I uphold this full covenant, this covenant as as the Jews, the old covenant, the Old Testament. Seems like according to this new Vatican understanding, I am probably to be saved, even though I completely categorically reject Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
So why? Yeah, sorry. No, it's fine.
No, please go ahead.
Okay. Well, I was just gonna ask him. Like, you can jump in right after, Bismarck. I was just gonna ask him, why does it seem that way?
Um,
yeah.
Because it says, right? I'm paraphrasing. Even though Jews reject Jesus, they can still be saved because the gifts and calling of God is irrevocable.
Correct.
Meaning, what are they talking about here? Well, they're talking about the old covenant. Whatever the standard was in the old covenant, that people can be saved through
Right.
fulfilling the
So
commandments of the old covenant,
right.
that
So
still
what is
applies
that
today,
so
even
what
after the coming of Jesus.
so what is that criterion?
Well, I think it's irrelevant because the point is that it's
Why
a
is it
different
irrelevant?
criterion to
That's
believing in
literally what you're
Jesus.
appealing to, and now it's irrelevant to you?
Well, it's simply
Are you excuse me, sir?
it's
Excuse me,
enough.
sir. Are
It's
you a self-hating Jew?
it's enough that it is a
So
different criterion than faith in
so
Jesus. That's enough for our
think
point.
about well, I mean, it would be a false dichotomy, right? Wouldn't you say, to assume that the old covenant and Jesus are diametrically opposed in that way? That seems pretty disingenuous.
Well, it
Was
seems
Jesus
that that Vatican
well, dreamily,
document
but
uh,
dreamily,
accepts that.
dreamily. According to us, Jesus was the best Jew.
I don't think you're speaking according to us because it seems that you're not up to date. You're
Dreamily.
not up to date
According to
on
Christians,
this
though,
in Vatican policy.
Jesus was the most priestly Jew in the history of the world. See,
Well, it seems like
so
you're not up to date with most
What we
recent
want,
Vatican policy.
what we
It's
want
not
for
my problem that
Jews,
you're not up to date
what
with the most
no
recent Vatican policy.
hold on, you're kind of losing the plot. You're spiraling. You're freaking out, Dreamily. For us, what we want from Jews
Dude,
is
your
for them to
document says
be
what it says.
the best Jew possible. And what does it mean to be the best Jew? It means to be a priestly people.
Well, according to your Vatican
You're
document, I
not,
don't need to
hey,
believe in you.
excuse me, sir, your prophets tell you over and over again, you are not identified by the Noahide laws, right? But your worship of the rightful and one and only God. You are called to be a priestly nation. And that's what the prophets remind you over and over and over again. That you can't be of two opinions. If you are of two opinions, you can only follow one, you must leave the other. You can only worship one.
He left.
Yeah, I know.
Again, just like someone else getting emotional.
Well, it's another informal fallacy. It's a false dichotomy. So
Hmm.
instead, what you can do is you just like turn the tables on them. What does it
Yeah,
mean to be a Jew?
yeah, I guess. Was I wrong? Was I wrong for asking what development means? Because like, I mean, a lot of people say that, yet they don't know what they're talking about. It's one of the supposed critiques of Catholicism. So I just thought I would ask him what it means in the beginning, but no,
Yeah,
whatever.
it's it's a very fair question because development of doctrine is an epistemological claim. It's not a truth claim.
No.
But people like to appeal to development of doctrine in order to substantiate or justify a truth claim. So they're equivocating between knowledge and truth again. That's part of the modernist error, which I was trying to allude to, right? If modernism um, is a post-enlightenment ideology that is built on an epistemological foundation that assumes that that logic itself is more objectively real than um, the natural world, then basically our ideas would be the coherence of our ideas are going to be more transcendental or more real than any practical utility or practical consideration for the world. So, despite all history, despite um, op- despite what our morals are, if it's only the idea that develops over time, then it's only the development of doctrine that matters. So then, when they appeal to the development of doctrine in their justification for the truth, then the truth can always change.
Yeah. No.
I don't know. I have to listen to that back again.
No, it's fine. It wasn't essential to what he was asking. But yeah.
You're right. At the end of the day, it isn't. They're just using our terms against us.
Yeah. But I mean, there were two ways to solve that issue. Firstly, or to the first, you could have just clarified what the document or what you think the document went as what you think the document meant as you did. Or firstly, you could say, or secondly, you could say it's not authoritative and therefore it doesn't have to be assented to, as I pointed out. So
I have
yeah,
less problems with Nostrae Aetate than I do with Lumen Gentium. But what Nostrae Aetate needs is further clarification on what they mean by the non-abrogation of the old covenant.
Mhm.
And I feel like the council fathers at the time, either it's because there was too much disagreement among them at the time of the council, or they were being duplicitous, which is another possibility, or they were just they were just they were too cowardly to kind of say what they should have said because they were so still near to World War II and the Holocaust at the time.
Probably just indecisiveness. These theological
I don't
matters
know.
are quite advanced, so
I
uh,
honestly believe they were being duplicitous myself.
mm. I don't know. Just like it sounds a little bit weird to be deceptive or guileful in an ecumenical council, so that's why I'm not so sure
It
about
happened all the
that.
time. If you look at Ephesus, there was a lot of guile and intrigue. Like Justinian was literally forcing Vigilius to freaking sign off on the council, right? Affirming that the council has more power than him.
Well, no, I mean in terms of the specific doctrines that Ephesus promote. I mean that that an ecumenical council promotes. Um, because that would be the logical end um of that position.
Well, the issue in hand, right, has to do with our theories between the old and new covenant. There's
Yeah.
three, okay? There's replacement theology, there's substitution theology, and there's supersessionism. Are you familiar with those three?
I haven't studied it too much, so no. I've heard of replacement theory because you were talking about it earlier, though.
Yeah, that's a Protestant idea. That's what the Calvinists came up with, I believe. I might be wrong on that. It's either the Calvinists or the Presbyterians, I'm not sure. Um, in the Catholic Church, the two prevailing opinions that have always existed, whether um, um, supported by statements from the popes themselves or theologians like Thomas Aquinas. Thomas Aquinas held to substitution theory. He didn't believe in substitutionism, or he didn't believe in supersessionism. at least as far as we know from both his Summa and Summa contra Gentiles.
Yeah.
Because he was more under the understanding of like a continuation of that atonement theology, and that's how St. Paul represents it as well: is substitution, not supersessionism. But still, supersessionists also appeal to St. Paul in places where he talks about how all the works that they're doing is not useful anymore, right? But
Yeah.
then in Romans 3, he says you have to uphold the law even as a Christian. You get what I mean? So
Mhm.
there's a lot of the internal critique doesn't support the supersessionism position univocally, in my opinion, and therefore substitution is the only reliable or it's more authentic than the supersessionist position.
Mhm.
It's just basically the idea that Jesus replaced their prior practices and rituals with himself. Whether it was the mikvah, but that's the thing. The thing about the mikvah is like that's much more. We don't have any substantiation for mikvah like much earlier than the 1st century BCE, right? So we don't know if that was like part of like Hebrew custom or not. You know what I mean? Like ancient Hebrew custom.
I don't know what the mikvah is.
It's a purification ritual. It's literally just like baptism for them.
Oh,
That's what John the Baptist was doing, like when he was like cleansing people in the water at the River
that was the
Jordan.
mikvah?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Another day, another victory for the OGs.
So